Hi, it's ChickenboneJohn here. I'm going to talk about tuning your Cigar Box Guitar in G. Here's my guitar. G, D, G. Very commonly used tuning. We're going to talk about using a headstock tuner like this one. This can be your best friend or your worst enemy. The main difficulty is it doesn't really discriminate between a low G or a high G. That's why you really need to try and figure out how to use your ears. And we'll be talking about using one of these old-fashioned things. I remember going to gigs and producing a tuning fork, tap it on your knee, put it on the body of the instrument, and people laughing because they'd all got used to using one of these. Because I often play with a harmonica player, I'll usually tune to his note because he can't change that. You can't tune it like a regular guitar. So I'm going to go through the various things you can tune your instrument with to help you. But having said that, my conclusion is unless you buy a phenomenally expensive tuning device that gives you the reading accurately in Hertz, that's cycles per second, that will tell you whether you've got a low G or a high G, you're going to exercise a little bit of judgment, and that is feeling the tension in the strings and using your ears. You know, it's all about music. We've not all got perfect pitch, I certainly don't, but I've now, after playing instruments for a fair old time, I know that roughly the feel of the strings and roughly the sound. Anyway, let's get on to the various options available to you. Most people tune in an open G, a GDG power chord. Here you can hear it, that's the low G, that's the middle D, that's the high G. Now, you can tune to those notes, you know, by listening to them, which is a really useful skill. But what a lot of people do is use one of these, a headstock tuner. Yeah, here's the headstock tuner. A lot of people use these. It can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Okay, here's a few things about the headstock tuner. This is a typical one. If we just put that on, hopefully you can see that. So on the bottom you can see a little letter, G for guitar, and if I just press this button, B for bass, V for violin, U for uke, and if we come full circle, we get C for chromatic. That will pick up every note. So that's probably, so you know, it'll get all the sharps and flats, whereas the guitar will just define the 6 regular guitar strings. So I recommend putting it in the C, the chromatic tuning. Okay, and if we pluck the bottom G, you can see we're a little low. And there's the green, and we're in tune. We'll do the middle string. D is in tune, and let's try the top G, and that's in tune. All well and good, but what a lot of people are doing are breaking strings when they're using these headstock tuners, and the reason is, as you could see, if we pluck a G, there's the bottom G, there's the top G. It's not telling you whether one is an octave above the other or not, and what a lot of people are doing is actually trying to tune their strings an octave above what they can cope with. Now, there are a few other ways of tuning your guitar that may get around this problem. Okay, let's have a look at them. What we've got here is a traditional tuning fork, the most traditional way of tuning an instrument. The only problem is most tuning forks that you can buy these days will be an A a 440 cycle, which is fine if you're tuning an A string or you're in an A tuning. I have got here a G tuning fork, which is 392 Hertz or cycles per second, and all we do is tap it against something soft. I mean, there's a pad on here, a blanket on here, but I just usually tap these against my knee. You can hear the note, and then pluck your string. Okay, that's your G. So when we're doing this by ear, you then should be able to hear the difference in an octave there. If we play the low G at the 7th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, that should give us the middle note. It's easy to count if you just count do, re, mi, G, A, B, C, D. We've got the D. If we play the D at the 5th fret, D, D, E, F, G, and that's the 12th fret. On the low G, same as the high G. So that's tuning by ear, which is a really useful thing to do with our tuning fork. You can do the same sort of thing with a pitch pipe or an ordinary harmonica. This is my C harmonica. The bottom note here, if you draw a note, suck rather than blow, there's your D. Okay, so that's using an ordinary harmonica. Here's another headstock tuner which I thought was going to solve the problem of differentiating between the high and the low G string, because this purports to tell you the reading in Hertz, cycles per second. So I thought that would be able to tell me whether to go to a low G or a high G. Unfortunately, I found it didn't work very well at all, which is a bit of annoying, because the first tuner I showed you was the ones we sell, which is a very simple tuner. There you go, you can get the both of them on there. This one's about £5. This one's about £20. Same sort of function. Turn it on. You can see the same thing. We've got a G, but it doesn't tell me whether it's high or low. Got the D and the high G. It's got a Hertz button here. If I press that, you can see it's flashing there at the bottom, and we've got 97.8, which I think actually is about right. But if I pluck the high G, 97.8 again. It's not differentiating between the two. And the middle D, it's got 73, which I think actually is a whole octave lower than it really is. So the Hertz function doesn't work at all well on this. It tells you the Hertz of a G, but it doesn't seem to want to tell you the real note. It's very inconsistent. As I say, I thought this thing was going to be the sort of fix it thing for this, by giving you the reading, telling you which octave you were in. Personally, I think that was a waste of £20. I've got a spare tuner, but the ones that we sell for whatever they are, a £5, seem to work just as well. Okay, there are a few other ways of tuning your guitar. You may have got something like this built into an acoustic guitar, and in fact we do make cigar box guitars with these devices on them. So if we actually switch the tuner on, it's not installed, but we should be able to get, we should be able to get a reading of this. There you see, we've got a G, we're a bit low. D, yeah, we've got the green light coming on. Here's another fixed note device on the good old Roland Cube. And if you see on here, there's a little tuning fork device, and you can set it from A flat, or A double flat, which is indeed a G, and you press the note and you've got a note to tune to. There's our G to tune to. Really handy little feature. And last of all on here, on my pedal board, I've got a tuner. So you can see, similar sort of thing as before. We've got a G, that's a wee bit flat. That's a D, you see it's, yeah, there we get the D. And the G. Okay, there's one other thing you can do, and that's to have this, a phone app. As you can see, this one is as you can see, this is the Boss, the same as the pedal. Works very, very similarly to that. There are other sorts of ones available. A lot of them are like a free download. Very handy little thing. So that's your various options for tuning of the guitar. I really recommend, if you can, learn to tune to a fixed note, either another instrument or a tuning note like on your guitar or on your harmonica. If you're using these devices, if you're using one of these devices, you really need to exercise care to making sure you've got the right octave. As I say, many people break strings. I think most guitarists, experienced guitarists, are okay with this because they know roughly what a low G and a high G should sound like. But if you're a complete beginner, you don't know which octave you're tuning to. It's very useful to get to know the feel of the strings, the tension in them, and getting to know when they feel like they're going to be overstressed or break. With an ordinary string, you can probably tune it up 3 or 4 steps above what it should be designed for. Like a G, if you tune up G, A, B, any further than that, like a C, it's going to break. There's no way it's going to go up a full octave and not break. So be very careful on that. Okay, I hope that was some help to you. Whether you decide you're going to get yourself a tuner or go old school with a tuning fork, it's up to you. By the way, the tuning forks, as I said before, commonly available in A, which is great if you're tuned in A. If you want to tune in G and you want a G tuning fork, you might have to hunt round a bit for one. I like them because they're pretty much, you know, unbreakable, but you have to use your ears. But the headstock tuner is not it's not a panacea. It's not a magic bullet for learning to find the right note. It's great for honing you right in on it, and in a noisy environment the headstock tuner or your pedal tuner is great. Okay, good luck with it. Hope you don't break too many strings from now on. Bye for now.